What is up, everyone? Today I found a horror movie that terrifies even me. It is the 2019 release 0.0 megahertz. It is widely praised as a benchmark for webtoon adaptations. Rumor has it that before filming started, the female lead consulted a local shaman to nail her role as a psychic. The story takes place in a remote mountain village. On this day, the villagers invite a local shaman to perform a ritual. Guided by the ritual tools in her hands, the shaman slowly turns her gaze toward the small cabin behind her. The cabin door eerily swings open on its own. Seeing this, the shaman shows no fear at all. She orders her assistant to keep beating the drums and gongs, while she steps into the cabin with strange, rhythmic movements. But the moment she sets foot inside, the cabin door slams shut behind her. Confident in her own power, a determined look appears on the shaman's face. Unfortunately, the malevolent entity she faces this time is brutally violent. In their very first encounter, the shaman screams and meets a tragic end on the spot. The scene cuts to the female lead, So-hee, working at a coffee shop. Reminded by her coworker, she notices Sung-yub sitting in the corner. Seeing So-hee look over, Sung-yub awkwardly greets her. After work, the two take a walk together. Sung-yub mentions he is writing a horror novel and has joined a school club that investigates paranormal events called 0.0 megahertz. Coincidentally, So-hee is also a new member of this club. Soon, the two arrive at the club room. Besides them, there are 3 other people in the club. They are Han-suk, the leader who manages everything, Yoon-jung, who is responsible for being on camera, and Tae-soo, who handles all the behind-the-scenes work. After some quick small talk, Tae-soo reveals their next destination. It is a dilapidated village, abandoned for many years. Right after that, Han-suk tells everyone about the terrifying events that happened there. 4 years ago, a mentally unstable woman in the village hung herself inside her own house and left this world. Because the body was left for a long time before being found, her head and body separated because they deteriorated heavily. Her head was still hanging from the rope, while her body had already fallen to the floor. Ever since then, supernatural and bizarre events frequently happen in the village. To appease the resentment of the evil spirit, the villagers have no choice but to invite a shaman to perform a ritual. But even the highly powerful shaman dies at the hands of the malevolent entity. After listening to this scary story, the naturally timid Sang-yub cannot help but feel terrified. However, the others are extremely looking forward to this exploration. Han-seok even excitedly says he wants to conduct brainwave tests inside the haunted house. They might just measure the legendary 0.0 megahertz. Seeing that Sang-yub does not understand what 0.0 megahertz is, Han-suk asks Yoon-jung to explain it to him. Word is that when human brainwaves drop to 0.0 megahertz, you can have an out-of-body experience and see ghosts. That is also where their club name comes from. Afterward, the group drives over to their destination. They soon arrive at the foot of the mountain. After walking a bit further, they finally reach the village. The houses are completely dilapidated from years of neglect. Even in broad daylight, a creepy chill fills the air. But that vibe is exactly what they are looking for. They immediately set up their professional gear and start exploring. Only So-hee stays behind because she senses something is off. Looking completely uneasy, she suddenly stares at a straw hut. Inside, the corpse of a woman who suffered a tragic fate appears. Meanwhile, Yoon-jung makes a discovery of her own. She spots a dust-covered pot lid. Fearing there might be human bones inside, Yoon-jung builds up her courage before nervously lifting it. But luckily, it is just a false alarm. Right after that, beneath the stove, she finds a narrow, hidden passage. Outside, Tae-soo finds a sealed, large jar. He lifts the lid, and a long, pickled pig head suddenly pops out inside. It scares Tae-soo so much that he falls to the ground. Yoon-jung happens to walk out and witness this scene. She relentlessly mocks Tae-soo right then and there. While the two are bickering, Sang-yub walks into a small cabin with a flashlight. While he takes a closer look around, Han-suk stands behind him and says, "This is the exact spot where the woman hung herself years ago." Hearing this, the hair on Sang-yub's arms stands on end, and a shiver runs down his spine. The scene cuts to So-hee. As if controlled by a mysterious force, she walks uncontrollably into a dense forest. The trees here are tightly connected by ropes, which are covered in strange red talismans. Looking completely dazed, So-hee keeps walking deeper into the woods. Before she goes very far, her legs suddenly feel as heavy as lead. Just as So-hee is about to collapse, an invisible force suddenly sweeps over her fiercely from a distance. After experiencing this bizarre event, So-hee becomes extremely weak. She does not even join the barbecue party organized by the group. The others assume she is just not used to social gatherings and brush it off, while excitedly discussing their upcoming plans. Han Seok plans to hold the ritualistic session tonight. He wants to summon a dead soul to possess a living person, to test whether they can measure the 0.0 megahertz brainwave. They already picked the person to be possessed, and it is Yoon Jung. At this moment, So-hee, who has been silent for a long time, speaks up. She begs everyone to call off the ritual because she has a premonition that something terrible will happen. But before she can even finish her sentence, the short-tempered Tae-soo immediately objects. The others also make their stance clear. The ritual must go on. Late at night, the group begins to methodically set up the ritual site. First, they set up the brainwave testing equipment. They have Yoon Jung wear the receiver and lie down in the middle of the room. They even scatter a circle of coarse salt around her. Next, Tae-soo pulls out 2 yarn dolls. One is hung from the rafter to recreate the scene of how the deceased left this world. The other is soaked in a crimson fluid mixed with beef liver to serve as a vessel for the soul. With these preparations complete, Tae-soo begins chanting the incantation to summon the dead. But after a long time, there is absolutely no unusual movement at the scene. Seeing no activity, Han Seok immediately relaxes. He smiles and reassures the pale So-hee while loudly calling out Yoon Jung's name. Strangely though, Yoon Jung suddenly starts convulsing violently on the spot. It looks exactly as if she is possessed by something terrifying. Worried that something is wrong, Han Seok rushes over. Suddenly, Yoon Jung snaps back to normal, laughing out loud and mocking him for being a coward. It turns out this is all just a prank. After this commotion, everyone gradually loses interest in the ritualistic session. So-hee finds a room to rest, while Tae-soo heads to the bushes behind the house to use the bathroom. Han Seok then uses the excuse of keeping So-hee company to send Sang-yab away. Soon after, Han Seok finds Yoon Jung. The two stay alone together and start getting intimate. However, no one notices that a terrifying crisis is quietly unfolding in the dead of night. On his way to use the bathroom, Tae-soo suddenly hears a strange noise behind him. He quickly turns around and shines his flashlight over. He finds a bizarre bird hiding in the overgrown weeds. Its feathers are inexplicably as thick as human hair. In the blink of an eye, the strange bird flaps its wings and flies away rapidly. Tae-soo quickly jogs after it. He watches the strange bird fly into the hidden kitchen tunnel, completely vanishing from sight. Frustrated, Tae-soo has no choice but to head back and sit down by the gear. As a result, he sees Han Seok and Yoon Jung making out on the monitor. Since he already has feelings for Yoon Jung, this instantly makes him incredibly jealous. Meanwhile, Sang-yab finds So-hee inside a small cabin. At this moment, So-hee is curled up into a tight ball. She repeatedly begs Sang-yab to stay and keep her company. Seeing the girl he likes looking so helpless, Sang-yab decides to lie down right beside her. Little does he expect, So-hee does not improve at all. Instead, she begins to tremble worse and worse. At the same time, she stares at the doorway in absolute terror, as if something is about to burst through the door any second. Fortunately, the spirit of So-hee's grandmother appears just in time, allowing the two to narrowly escape disaster. The scene cuts to Tae-soo. He suddenly notices that Yoon Jung's brainwaves are dropping rapidly. In just a few short seconds, they plummet to their target of 0.0 megahertz. As the frequency lines flash wildly across the screen, a fast-asleep Yoon Jung suddenly snaps her eyes open inside the house. With her head lowered, she slowly walks outside barefoot. Sensing something is wrong, Tae-soo steps forward to stop her, only to see Yoon Jung's eyes rolling back. Tae-soo suddenly wakes up with a start. It turns out everything that just happened is nothing but a terrible nightmare. But when he looks up at the entrance, he is horrified to find the door wide open. This means his recent experience is not an illusion at all. Panicking, Tae-soo quickly informs Han Seok about the situation, then rushes to locate So-hee and Sang-yam, getting them to join the search. However, So-hee is still paralyzed with fear and cannot calm down. Sang-yab is worried about her, so he stays behind to keep her company. After searching around, Han Seok and Tae-soo finally discover Yoon Jung in the kitchen. At first, Han Seok assumes Yoon Jung is playing another prank, but she merely turns her neck stiffly, begging him for help with a face full of terror. By the time the two realize something is wrong, it is already too late. Yoon Jung is completely controlled by a sinister force. She crawls like crazy right into the hidden kitchen tunnel. In a desperate panic, Han Seok quickly calls for Tae-soo to help. The two grab Yoon Jung's legs with all their might, trying desperately to pull her out of the hole. But just when they are about to succeed, a horrifying scene unfolds. Yoonjung's face is completely wrapped in hair. Every single strand seems alive, dragging her tightly and refusing to let go. Right after that, a pair of eyes suddenly appears deep inside the secret tunnel, freezing Han-suk and Tae-soo on the spot in sheer terror. The two can only watch helplessly as Yoon-jung is dragged away into the deepest part of the tunnel. Meanwhile, So-hee's condition grows worse and worse. Han-suk worries that something might happen if they stay any longer, so he tells Tae-soo to pack up the gear, asks Sang-yeob to carry So-hee back to the car first, while he stays behind to look for Yoon-jung. Just as Tae-soo is in a rush to pack up their things, he suddenly discovers that the doll on the rafter only has its head left. Its body has fallen into the crimson fluid where the beef liver is soaking. To make things even creepier, a bizarre voice suddenly comes out of the radio on the floor. Listening closely, it is actually Yoon-jung's voice. Just then, Han-suk rushes in carrying a rock, completely pushed over the edge by the piercing sound from the radio. He violently smashes it to pieces on the spot. After that, Han-suk lies flat on the floor, feeling around to find where Yoon-jung is. Very soon, he hears a slight noise coming from underneath a floorboard. Han-seok assumes Yoon-jung is responding to him, so he immediately calls Sang-yeob over to smash the floorboard with rocks. After a barrage of heavy blows from the two, they finally smash a large hole through the floor. Coincidentally, the unconscious Yoon-jung is lying right beneath the floorboard. Seeing this, the two quickly rescue her from the tunnel. Once she is out, the group packs up their gear immediately, intending to get out of this godforsaken place as fast as possible. Right then, the weak So-hee suddenly speaks up, demanding that everyone must burn that doll. Seeing her dead serious expression, Han-suk knows she is not joking, and orders Tae-soo to take care of it right away. After all, Tae-soo is the one who brought the doll in the first place. While burning the doll, the disgruntled Tae-soo makes a decision that nearly costs everyone their lives. He does not burn the doll at all. Instead, he throws both the head and the body right into the hidden kitchen tunnel. After returning to the city, they rush the comatose Yoon-jung to the hospital. Han-seok tells the others to head back to the hotel and rest, while he stays behind to take care of her. A fast-asleep Sang-yeob suddenly feels a wave of inexplicable panic. Right after that, the closet next to him creepily swings open on its own. When he opens his eyes, covered in cold sweat, a little boy, covered in blood, suddenly appears right in front of him. Without a word, the boy tightly chokes his neck, squeezing harder and harder. Fortunately, Sang-yeob snaps awake at the critical moment. On the flip side, Tae-soo completely changes his usual short temper. He not only offers to return to the hospital to take over Han-suk's shift, but also sincerely apologizes to Yoon-jung on the hospital bed. Han-suk is very pleased with his change and leaves to grab some food without the slightest suspicion. But the moment he steps out, Tae-soo instantly tears off his friendly mask. He begins to make inappropriate advances on the bedridden Yoon-jung. However, the next second, Yoon-jung, who has been comatose for a long time, suddenly snaps her eyes open. Not long after, everyone receives the news that Yoon-jung is awake. Besides being thrilled about her recovery, they also get a bad feeling about Tae-soo's sudden disappearance. Yet Han-suk can care less about anything else right now. His mind is completely consumed with wanting some alone time with his newly awakened girlfriend. Seeing this, Sang-yeob instantly feels awkward and slips away under the excuse of going downstairs to buy some things. Meanwhile, while So-hee is washing up, she suddenly notices that several red scratch marks have inexplicably appeared on her wrist. Sensing that something is terribly wrong, she immediately heads to the front desk to get the key to Tae-soo's room, hurrying inside to pull out his computer. In the video recorded that day, she sees a terrifying sight. The doll hanging from the rafter is yanked by an invisible force, and after shaking for a few seconds, its head splits right from its body. Immediately after, the fast-asleep Yoon-jung below suddenly opens her mouth wide, looking exactly as if something is trying to crawl inside her body through her mouth. At the same time, Sang-yeob suddenly gets a phone call from Yoon-jung, asking him to come over to her hospital room right away. Right after Sang-yeob agrees, he turns around and sees Han-seok looking for his car downstairs. Sang-yeob calls out to ask where he is going, but Han-seok completely ignores him as if he hears nothing, driving away from the hotel at full speed. Later, Sang-yeob walks into Yoon-jung's hospital room. However, Yoon-jung seems like a completely different person now. She walks straight up to Sang-yeob, And when she speaks, a little boy's voice actually comes out. Next, Yoonjung's face begins to twist and contort, and in the blink of an eye, she changes into the boy who tried to overpower the victim Sang-yeob in his dream that night. It turns out this little boy is Sang-yeob's older brother. The two survived a severe accident when they were kids, leaving behind his heavily injured older brother to run away alone. This ultimately causes his brother to miss the window for emergency medical help and pass away. This matter becomes a lifelong, unerasable shadow in Sang-yeob's heart. Filled with deep regret, Sang-yeob breaks down and cries uncontrollably on the spot. He even drops straight to his knees, begging his brother for forgiveness. Trapped deep in the hallucination, Sang-yeob does not know. The brother before him is an illusion created by the malevolent entity to lure him into a deadly trap. Fortunately, So-hee arrives just in the nick of time, pulling Sang-yeob back to reality from the brink of death. Seeing its plan interrupted, the malevolent entity temporarily retreats into Yoonjung's body and goes quiet. Once they catch their breath, So-hee shares her analysis with Sang-yeob. She believes Yoonjung is completely possessed by the malevolent entity from the haunted house. Not only was Sang-yeob almost tricked into leaving this world, but it is highly likely that Tae-soo and Han-suk have already met a tragic fate as well. Things turn out exactly as she expects. Construction workers discover Tae-soo's cold body in an abandoned pool. Han-seok does not escape either. Overwhelmed by fear, he speeds down the road, is startled by a sudden apparition, and directly causes a severe car crash. Seeing her boyfriend and friend turn into cold corpses, the grief-stricken Yoonjung can only sob hysterically. She feels that she is the one who caused both of them to meet their tragic ends. But something even more terrifying is yet to come. Sang-yeob and So-hee take turns lifting their clothes to show Yoonjung the bizarre red marks on their bodies. So-hee tells Yoonjung that these red marks are actually tags left on them by the malevolent entity. Once the malevolent entity inside Yoonjung fully awakens, it will brutally eliminate them completely next. The only way to resolve this issue for good is to return to the haunted house where the nightmare started. On the way to the haunted house, So-hee, who figures out the possession pattern of the malevolent entity, keeps reminding Yoonjung that she must absolutely not fall asleep, or else she will be completely possessed by the malevolent entity. After the group arrives at the haunted house, So-hee skillfully follows the steps and begins to prepare for the ritualistic session. Before the ritual begins, she specifically reminds Sang-yeob that no matter what happens inside the house later, he must absolutely not come inside to interrupt. After a long wait, Sang-yeob, who is guarding outside, is shocked to find that the numbers on the brainwave monitor drop all the way to 0.0 megahertz. Without a doubt, this means that right now, Yoonjung is completely controlled by the malevolent entity. But this time is different from the last. So-hee also channels a spiritual entity to summon her grandmother, who always protects her, to possess her own body. Compared to the panicked and helpless So-hee, she is highly experienced while possessed by her grandmother, calmly confronting the malevolent entity inside Yoonjung. Through their dialogue, it is revealed that So-hee's grandmother is the exact shaman who was brutally eliminated completely by the malevolent entity in this village years ago. At first, she tries to negotiate, asking the malevolent entity to let So-hee's group go. But the fiercely resentful malevolent entity refuses, claiming with a hideous face that it wants to kill everyone. Seeing that soft words are useless, the grandmother loses patience, decisively grabs the doll soaked in crimson fluid, and whips Yoonjung on the floor viciously. Seeing that it is about to be obliterated, the cunning and treacherous malevolent entity begins to target Sang-yeob outside the house. It mimics Sang-yeob's brother's voice again, luring Sang-yeob step by step toward the cabin. When Sang-yeob cautiously opens the door, he actually sees his brother lying on the ground bleeding, while So-hee is frantically choking his neck. To make matters worse, So-hee even gives him a provocative look. The furious Sang-yeob yells out and shoves her away right then and there, pinning her to the floor and choking her neck tightly. The nearly suffocated So-hee can do nothing except fight back feebly. Just as the two are tearing each other apart, taking advantage of the situation, the malevolent entity breaks free from its shackles and crawls right out of Yoonjung's mouth. Seeing this blood-curdling scene, the three are terrified out of their wits and instantly turn to run out of the cabin. But right as they are about to make it through the entrance, Songyub's leg is tightly ensnared by the malevolent entity's hair, dragging him backward by force. By the time Sohee and Yoonjung react and burst back through the door, it is already too late. Tightly bound by countless strands of hair, Songyub cannot resist this power at all and is dragged straight into the depths of the underground tunnel by the malevolent entity. Fortunately, right before he is pulled entirely inside the hole, he desperately grabs the doll, which holds the true core of the malevolent entity. Songyub uses all his remaining strength to flick his lighter. Flames instantly consume the entire doll, and right after that, a violent wave of fire violently erupts out of the tunnel. The brutal, malevolent entity is ultimately reduced to ashes amid piercing shrieks. Songyub is also incredibly lucky, escaping with only minor injuries. Once the chaos settles down, Songyub finally gets his wish and begins a relationship with Sohee. The horror novel he is writing also catches the attention of a publishing house editor. Everything seems to be going well. But as Sohee looks through his computer, she unexpectedly finds a video file named Ending. Filled with curiosity, she clicks on the video, only to uncover a terrifying truth. It turns out Songyub never actually escaped from the haunted house. He is still trapped inside that underground tunnel. So that begs the question, since Songyub never left the haunted house, who exactly is this person standing right next to Sohee? Let us find out. See you next time.